The screen froze mid-scream. Her mouth was wide-open teeth, bared bouquet gripped like a weapon. Behind her, a champagne glass lay shattered on the marble floor, the pieces glinting under white and gold uplighting. The groom, Logan, stood next to her, frozen in time, mouth caught in a silent O of panic. My mother's hand was raised halfway, as if she'd been trying to stop the moment from happening, but nothing could. Not anymore. In the bottom corner, the banner still scrolled Aubrey and Logan, a day of love. I sat on my couch in silence, wine glass in hand, the stream frozen on that exact frame like a painting of disaster no one meant to make. And I didn't blink. There was no soundtrack, no narration, just that still frame and the hum of my old refrigerator in the background. It wasn't the first time I'd been asked to watch things from the sidelines. It was just the first time they gave me a password to do it. They told me I could watch from home, and I did. I watched every second. I watched them walk down the aisle toast with Crystal perform their perfect show, and then I watched it fall apart. I didn't cry. I didn't gasp. I didn't even pour another glass. I just leaned back and stared at the chaos they had so carefully tried to curate. And as my sister's face twisted with rage and her wedding shattered around her, I only had one thought. How did we get here? It was a Thursday when the call came. I was folding laundry in the living room, the kind of quiet task you do when the day doesn't ask much of you. The phone lit up Mom. I hesitated a beat, then answered. "Elena, sweetheart," she said in that airy tone she reserved for weather reports and polite lies. "We wanted to talk to you about the wedding." Her voice floated through the phone like it weighed nothing. But I knew better. I'd grown up in that tone. It was the same one she used when telling me the dress I liked was a bit safe, or that my career choice was responsible if that's what makes you happy. I held my breath. "You know how these things go," she continued. "Logan's family is quite large, and the venue, well, it has very strict capacity guidelines. It's going to be an intimate affair. Curated, really. Very elegant. Curated." She said it like I was a throw pillow that didn't match the furniture. I waited for her to catch herself. To say, "But of course you'll be there. You're her sister." She didn't. So unfortunately, she said, still gentle, still effortless, "We're not able to have everyone attend in person." Everyone. Funny word that. It seemed to stretch to include Logan's old frat buddies, distant cousins who hadn't sent a Christmas card in years. Even Aubrey's nail tech, the one who once gave me a pitying glance when I asked for a plain French manicure instead of rhinestone claws. But not me. "I see," I said. My voice caught like my throat was trying to keep the pain in. "Oh, but you won't miss a thing," she chirped quickly, too quickly. "We've hired a professional team to live stream the whole thing. High definition. Beautiful angles. It'll feel just like being there." I nodded even though she couldn't see me, even though I didn't believe her, because there's a difference between watching and being included. A concert on a screen isn't the same as standing in the crowd, and watching your sister get married from a laptop in your apartment isn't the same as being invited to witness it, not even close. When the call ended, I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the folded towels in my lap like I didn't recognize them. I'd been erased gently, without malice but with precision. And that's the thing, isn't it? They didn't forget me. They chose not to include me. And then they gave me a link. It didn't start with the wedding. That was just the final proof neatly wrapped in ribbon and exclusion. If I'm being honest, I started disappearing a long time ago. I was 10 the first time I understood what it meant to step aside. I had asked for a slumber party, 3 close friends, nothing fancy, just pizza sleeping bags and a cake with too much frosting. Aubrey was 6. It wasn't her birthday, not even close. But she wanted a pony, not a toy, not a picture. A real pony. She'd seen one at a classmate's party and decided she needed it. When my parents said no, she screamed. The kind of scream that made walls feel thin and patience thinner. By the end of the night, my party was postponed. They said it was for the best, that she was upset and we didn't want to make things worse. Instead, we had a tense family dinner where my cake never left the freezer. I got a savings bond. "For your future," my dad said, and Aubrey, still sniffling, was promised a pony ride the next weekend. That was the first trade I remember, my day for her peace. It wasn't the last. In high school, I won the statewide science fair. I had spent 6 months building a working model of an irrigation system, testing, revising, perfecting. I came home beaming the blue ribbon in my hand, still warm. "That's wonderful, honey," my mom said, glancing at the ribbon before turning to Aubrey, who had just been cast as tree number 3 in her middle school play. Suddenly, we needed cardboard felt glue glitter. Costume prep took over the dining table for weeks. I built a working water system. She held her arms out like branches. One of us got framed photos on the mantel. It wasn't even close. But I didn't complain. I studied hard. Got into college. Majored in project management because I liked when things made sense and stayed where you put them. I paid my loans. Landed a steady job. Opened a retirement account before 30. Aubrey. She tried 3 business ideas in 2 years, a bead jewelry line, a lifestyle blog, something about goat yoga. Each failed. Each was lovingly funded by my parents. There was always money for her passion, her reinvention, her next idea. And somehow, the more I stood on my own, the less they saw me. It's funny how independence can look like invisibility to the people who raised you. I used to think if I just kept showing up, remembered birthdays, helped with furniture, co-signed that loan for her car, someone would eventually say, "Thank you. We see you." But no one did. They just stopped asking altogether. So when the wedding call came, when I heard my name had been left off the list, I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch. Because the truth is, by then, I was used to watching things from the outside. I had been doing it my whole life. The invitation didn't come in the mail. There was no envelope with thick cardstock, no embossed lettering, no careful handwriting with my name spelled out in soft gold ink. Instead, it landed in my inbox. The subject line read, "You're invited to watch Aubrey and Logan's wedding. Live stream access." It felt less like a gesture and more like a receipt. Inside was a static graphic with swirling fonts and overexposed engagement photos, a Zoom link, a password that looked like a Wi-Fi code, a note that said the stream would begin promptly at 4:00 p.m. Eastern. There was no personal message, no line from my sister, not even a wish you could be here. It didn't feel like inclusion. It felt like permission to spectate, like I'd been handed binoculars and told I could peek through the fence if I stood quietly enough. A few days later, I ran into Mrs. Kinney, our old neighbor from 2 doors down at the grocery store. She was thrilled. "Oh, Elena. You must be over the moon about Aubrey's wedding. Such a lovely couple. What are you wearing to the big day?" I opened my mouth and nothing came out at first. Then I smiled tightly. "Actually, it's going to be a small, intimate event. I'll be watching from home. They're live streaming it for family who couldn't be there." She paused, her hand resting on a carton of eggs. Her smile faltered just enough to sting. "Oh, well, that's modern," she said gently. "Very efficient." She patted my arm like someone patting dust off a shelf, and then turned toward the dairy aisle, suddenly remembering she had somewhere else to be. I stood in front of the cereal for a long time after that. I don't even remember what I bought, because there's a particular kind of shame that comes when you realize people aren't just leaving you out quietly. They're doing it with templates. The week before the wedding, I saw something I wasn't meant to see. It was a short video on someone's Instagram story, one of Logan's friends, a face I half recognized from tagged beach photos. Just a flash of a neon sign, some loud laughter, and a caption written in all caps. The Kitten Club was wild. Groom down. It disappeared in 24 hours, but I saw it. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't send it to my mother. I didn't call Aubrey. I just watched it once, then let it fade like so many other things in this family that were never spoken of again. I could have said something. I could have warned her. But I didn't. Because after 30 years of carrying other people's secrets, smoothing over chaos, and keeping peace that was never mine to hold, I had finally learned the difference between silence and surrender. One is passive, the other is deliberate. So I poured myself a glass of wine, took a long sip, and closed the app. Some truths don't need help getting out. Some just need a moment and the right audience. The day of the wedding arrived like a staged photo, too bright, too composed, a little unreal. I dressed simply, nothing dramatic. Just linen soft colors, bare feet. I opened a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc I'd been saving for a reason I couldn't name, poured myself a full glass, and logged in. The live stream opened to a still shot of the altar white roses layers of baby's breath and a backdrop that looked airbrushed. The lighting was warm and dreamy, the kind you only find in wedding magazines or afternoon fiction. A message scrolled in, cursive, across the bottom of the screen. Aubrey and Logan, a day of love. In the corner, there was a chat box. Aunt Carol had already left 3 comments, wishing you all the joy in the world. We're so proud, you look radiant already. There were messages from old neighbors, forgotten cousins, even someone named the Millers who signed their name like a dealership. I didn't type anything. I just watched. The music began a string quartet version of a pop song that tried too hard to sound timeless. Then came the wedding party bridesmaids in mismatched pastels, groomsmen sweating under tailored suits. Logan stood at the altar, his smile, nervous hands wringing just out of frame. Then came my mother. Margot Brooks, in navy chiffon and high heels too tight for honesty, held her posture like a pillar. She smiled as if she were personally holding the entire production together by sheer will. And finally, Aubrey. She looked beautiful, that kind of expensive curated beauty that photographs well and feels far away. Her hair was perfect, her dress flowed like it had been studied in motion. But her eyes moved too quickly, her smile came a second late, and her grip on Dad's arm tight, too tight. She walked like a general inspecting the troops, not a bride walking into a life. The officiant mispronounced Logan's last name, twice. Someone giggled. One of the bridesmaids wobbled in her heels and let out a little shriek as she caught herself nearly sending a floral arrangement flying. The microphone popped, then crackled, then cut out altogether just as Logan began his vows. He tried to project his voice, bless him, but his words evaporated into the wide air like steam off a cooling plate. Aubrey's jaw tensed. Her smile froze. She glanced sharply to the side where a sound tech crouched near the speaker like a man already halfway to blame. And I took a slow sip of wine. They had spent thousands curating the perfect image. But underneath the lace and the lavender lighting, something was unraveling. The reception began the way most of them do, too loud, too bright, and just drunk enough to feel unreal. The screen showed round tables draped in white gold-rimmed champagne flutes catching light and centerpieces so tall they blocked faces. People clapped too long, laughed too high. Everyone looked a little rehearsed. Aubrey's maid of honor, a friend I'd met once at some brunch years ago, took the mic first. Her speech was exactly what you'd expect, bubbly, breathless, full of inside jokes about matching tattoos and that one time in Cabo. The room giggled politely. Then came the best man, Dave. I didn't know Dave, but from the second he grabbed the mic, I knew exactly who he was. Loud, loose, shirt already untucked. He started with safe material college antics, frat house stories, something about Logan once mistaking a fern for a person. People laughed. It was fine, until it wasn't. And of course he boomed, swaying slightly. We gotta give it up for the legendary bachelor weekend in Vegas. I stopped mid-sip. A few guys at a back table whooped. Dave grinned wider. A true last hurrah, am I right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Unless you bring back a hangover and some very questionable memories from a place called... What was it? He paused, squinting in mock thought. Oh, right. The Kitten Club. The room didn't just fall silent. It collapsed. You could almost hear the click like a trap snapping shut. My mother's smile froze, then fractured. Aubrey turned her head so slowly it was almost graceful. Her expression didn't change at first. She just blinked once, then again, then turned her full body toward Logan. Logan looked pale, not embarrassed, terrified. Dave kept going, oblivious. Man, Logan. I still don't know how we got that bottle comped. Or how you... Okay, Logan barked, lunging toward him. Thanks, Dave. Great speech. That's enough. But Aubrey was faster. She reached for the mic. Her knuckles were white. Logan, she said, her voice tight and shaking but sharp as glass. We talked about this. It was a joke, he stammered. Honey, it was just a joke, she repeated louder now. A joke about what embarrassing me lying to me. Standing in front of my family and a champagne glass hit the floor somewhere near the back. It shattered with a crisp, clear sound that rang louder than anything Dave had said. Someone coughed. Someone else stood up and sat back down. Logan reached out like he meant to calm her, but she stepped away. Just one clean, sharp step. What happened at the kitten club? Logan, he opened his mouth, closed it. Silence. And in that exact moment before he could lie, before she could scream again, the live stream froze. Not a fade, not a glitch. Just an immediate, full-screen freeze. On my laptop, the frame stuck on Aubrey mid-sentence, her mouth a jagged line bouquet raised like she might throw it. Behind her, Logan stood wide-eyed and ashen. Margot, my mother, was caught in the corner, hand half raised, like she could swat the disaster away. And on the bottom of the screen, the banner still scrolled Aubrey and Logan, a day of love. I stared at it, not moving, not blinking. And then softly to no one, I laughed. Because after all the planning, the seating charts, the makeup trials, the curated guest list, they'd finally given me a front row seat. To the moment it all fell apart. My phone rang 20 minutes later. Mom, I didn't answer. It rang again. Then again. Then came the text, Elena, this is a family emergency. Pick up. I let it sit. The screen was still frozen. Aubrey mid-scream. Logan frozen beside her, the banner below, scrolling like nothing had happened. Eventually, I answered. Put it on speaker. I didn't say hello. Did you see my mother snapped? Her voice was frantic, brittle. Did you see what's online? They're sharing it everywhere. Aubrey is inconsolable. We need to get it down. I swirled the last of my wine and stared at the image. You're good with computers, she rushed on. Call TikTok. Get it removed. This is defamation. Logan's parents are threatening to sue. It's not defamation, I said softly. It happened. Elena, she whispered. Please, you have to help. There was a pause. Then I said it. Clear. Even. No anger in it. You told me there wasn't room for me. The silence on the line was immediate. I took a breath. So, with all due respect, I'm not sure this is my emergency. I ended the call before she could respond. The frozen live stream stayed on my screen a little longer. Then finally, I closed the laptop. The chaos disappeared, but the stillness in my apartment. It didn't feel empty. It felt earned. A month passed. The video made its rounds online, screen-recorded, memified, dissected on wedding forums. Someone clipped the frozen image of Aubrey mid-scream and captioned it, when the group chat finds out you lied. I didn't share it. I didn't even save it. I just watched the noise swell then fade. Through the grapevine, I heard that Aubrey and Logan postponed their honeymoon. They were reevaluating communication, whatever that meant. My mother stopped posting. My father took up woodworking. Apparently, he was carving small birds out of pine and giving them angry little eyes. Me, I got pre-approved for a mortgage. I had been saving quietly for years. Dinners, skipped vacations, deferred birthdays, modest. Always with the thought that one day I'd do something for myself. I toured a dozen properties, tiny places, ones with creaky floors and good bones, and I found it on a shaded street lined with oak trees, a 2-bedroom bungalow with chipped paint, a wide front porch, and a backyard that smelled like real grass. It needed work, but not too much. The day I signed the closing papers, I didn't call anyone. No champagne, no Instagram story. Just me, a pen, and a notary who offered a quiet congratulations. And that was enough. They had spent tens of thousands curating a perfect wedding that exploded in front of the internet. I spent a fraction of that buying something that would still be standing years from now. Not for show. For shelter. That night, I sat on the floor of my new living room. No furniture yet. Just the echo of empty space, a soft lamp in the corner, and a breeze that slipped through the open window like it belonged there before I did. The wood floors creaked beneath me, real wood, nothing polished, nothing fake. I lit a single candle, poured one glass of wine, then I opened my laptop and deleted the wedding link. Not in anger, just because I didn't need it anymore. I was no longer watching anyone else's life unfold. I was in mine now, no banner, no live stream, no curated guest list, just air, just quiet. And it was beautiful. I used to think being left out meant I was missing something, but I wasn't. I was being pointed somewhere else, somewhere better. If they told you there wasn't room for you, but you still remember everything, just leave a single dot.